literally only doing this to get a compelling thumbnail so that I can tell you all about the 4 types of LED sequential lighting. Yo, what's up? In this video, we're gonna talk all about We're gonna talk all about sequential LEDs and 4 types that are currently available on the market for you. That includes non-adjustable, adjustable, fully programmable, and addressable. We're gonna get into all of that coming up. I don't know when I'm gonna have a set of lights exactly this cool again to show off, but this is a really awesome set of GTR lights that is about to ship off today, and I wanted to make this video so that I could show off some of the cool modes that it does. Basically, that's it. That's all the cool modes that it does. It's a switchback sequential set of lights. It's plug and play. And I wanted to show the difference between that. And then we've got another set. This is the fully programmable Ghozt modules. And then over here, I even set one of these Amazon strips. It's just like a $20, super basic, nothing special little LED product on there. And it too does switchback sequential. So let's look at all 3 of these things side by side. What you can tell is that this guy is just starting and finishing. That is doing the same thing. It's starting down here at the bottom. And then this guy has 3 pulses that are doing this crazy little pew 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 thing. Thanks to my boy Vincent. Love you, Vince. So right now I'm gonna show this in 120 frames per second, slowed down, super slow-mo. It's gonna be awesome, cinematic, and we will compare all of these after that. Alright, so we just saw things do all kinds of different rates. I will tell you that the strip has only 8 sections, so those chunks, there were 8 of them. The middle light has a total of 14 of those sections, and then the one at the end that was so crispy, so buttery smooth, that one has 28 individual sections. So that's actually 4 LEDs 28 times, and that's why it looks so smooth, whereas the one that only had 8 sections was so chunky and clunky and a $20 stupid little monkey. Okay, let's talk about the difference between all of these strips, aside from the fact that we've got 8 LED sections, 14 LED sections, and 28 LED sections. And that is, by the way, based on the sequencer, not the actual LEDs. Okay, so here's the first strip, and if you want to watch a full video all about this strip, I made one before. I'm gonna go ahead and link it up. Compared to the tech that was out maybe 10 years ago, it is pretty cool. But all that it is a strip of universal LEDs. It's got this big tube. It's got the double-sided tape on one side. I'm guessing if you start chopping into that, bad stuff's gonna happen. But more importantly than the aesthetics of the actual strip itself and how you can lay that thing in there and how you can modify it, you've got this one little module right here. And that one module is what tells it, without any input on your part, that it needs to go from off to white. And then as soon as it sees power go to the other wire, it's gonna give it that sequential animation. Now, if that power gets shut off premature, it'll continue all the way down as long as the white LEDs are turned on. A couple things about that strip. You cannot adjust the speed, you can't add any modes, you can't do anything. You can't change a single thing. I don't even know if you can change the shape of it. You might have to bend it and hope that you don't mess up the circuit board on there. I've seen people use these things in kind of somewhat creative ways. More like the big silicone tubes are what's more popular than that flat ribbon style one. But a lot of times they'll work. They'll do what they need to do. You just kind of slap them into place. They're not like the centerpiece, but they're like one cool function. The fact that there's moving turn signal sequential LEDs. It's just something that not a lot of people see. 9 out of 10 non-car people are gonna be like, hey, I like your lights, they're real neat, you know? If the white LEDs are turned off, now there's no power being supplied to it. So it's just gonna get power as long as that pulse is on. Let me try to show that again. White is on right now. And so even if I shut it off short, it completes the whole length of the strip. But if the white is turned off, and I just give it a quick little on-off, then you've just got that amount of time for the LEDs to light up. Very common in non-programmable types. This guy right here is very different because it has supplied power no matter what. It will not work unless there's power and ground hooked up to the sequencer. This one and this one, they're both getting power only as long as the turn signal is pushing it out. So you can hear this little clicker. If you want to learn how to make one of these guys, I made this in a video a while back so that we could simulate the turn signal on the bench, and that's what's giving it the same kind of effect that the car would. And so as you can tell, this guy's starting right here. It's completing all the way at the top. Both of these, the non-adjustable as well as the adjustable, you can tell they're not completing that path, that guy, no matter what, every time he's gonna do it. By the way, if we are meeting for the first time, my name is Chris and I run a website called FlyRyde.com where I do training, we sell products, all sorts of cool stuff like that. So if you're into automotive aftermarket lighting, you want to learn how to do all of it, what parts to use, what things to avoid, start now by subscribing to this channel and definitely go register on FlyRyde.com so that you don't miss any of the uploads or the cool content that I put there on my online training courses. Now these guys in the center here, I'm actually really excited. That's kind of the main function of this video, is to tell you about this set of GTR lights that has the Corsomotion adjustable sequencer inside. If you've got like a hyper flash on or something like that, it won't even have enough time to zip all the way up to the top. It doesn't adjust the speed, it doesn't do anything. It's just gonna come on, and whatever the little dial is that you've turned the little screw set on the circuit board itself while you're setting these things up, that's how fast that animation is going to go through. There's also different things, like you can have a trailing effect where after it gets to maybe like right here, then it starts disappearing at the bottom. And so I have a whole video about the Corsomotion sequencer as well, which I'm going to link up. There's going to be a lot of links on this video. It's a lot different than this because it is actually speed adjustable. You have different styles of the sequence that goes through it, and Corsomotion is coming out with some really cool fun stuff. I hear there's going to be a show mode soon. I can't wait to get my hands on it. I will say this guy is set up. It's got a switchback driver so that we can have the white LEDs on my GTR lightning bolt board, and then that switchback driver shuts off the white so that we can have that cool switchback function. And we've got this awesome adjustable Corsomotion sequencer controlling the LEDs here. So the nice thing is, this is a custom setup. That's an off-the-shelf product where it is what it is. This can be made to work with anything. If we wanted to, we could have tied in those LEDs from Depot that do the cool turn signal. But instead we just use the lightning bolt to kind of supplement the turn signal function, just make it look super awesome. Totally street legal, good to go, just looks awesome. And I can't wait to see these things on the GTR. Now, let's get into the king, the Ghozt. I want to give you a little bit of my thought process when it comes to using the most expensive setup possible that's on the market right now, which is a Ghozt sequencer that's fully customizable and programmable on the computer and all the amazing things that can happen. Okay, so if you can use a $20 product and build some cool lights that actually have that sequential look to them, why would you spend more than that just for the little sequencer itself to control the LEDs? And even more so, why would you spend like 5 times as much money or more than that to get a full programmable sequential setup so that the lights that you're building can do crazy things and you can continuously change them on the fly, write new code, zap them with a cool new little update, and I don't know, look like a magician? Why would you do that? I mean, I think the bigger question is, why would you not want to do that for your customer or for yourself if you're into that kind of thing? Here's how I think about it. Imagine if you're a gardener and you're doing some giant palace of a mansion, and the only seed that you will use when you're doing the lawn of that giant mansion is the really inexpensive cheap one, because that's what you would use at home. What kind of sense does that make to the rich guy that owns that place? None at all. You're not doing him any favors using cheap stuff. He wants something absolutely perfect and amazing. He wants it to be the best, and you're using your own mindset, your own cheap thought process to say like, oh, he's gonna appreciate this, I'm gonna save him a bunch of money. Dude's got money. He's not worried about the money. He wants the dopeness. He wants everything to be awesome. Don't put your own opinion about what you would use because 20 bucks means a lot or 200 bucks means a lot or whatever. Don't put you on the build unless you're building it for yourself. And even then, go do this in stages if you're just getting started with sequential lights. It can get crazy expensive. But if you're doing this for somebody else, let me give you a little secret. Use that person's money to make yourself look like a genius. The guy that's working over there at Ghozt and his partner Dan have put together an amazing package for you that makes you look like you are some kind of a genius. I know, because I always get that praise that like, oh, you're so good, your stuff's amazing. I'm like, thanks, but it's not necessarily the case. Like, I'm just using great products and I'm not using my money. I didn't buy it. I don't buy myself. I don't have anything on my car. I have exactly sequential nothing in my life. Just a little pro tip there. Use other people's money to get awesome stuff, to make their end result super amazing, and don't limit yourself by the 20 bucks that you have in your pocket and how like, oh, I would never spend $1,000 on a sequential setup. Like, you wouldn't, but your customer probably would. So with that mouthful out of the way, let me reintroduce you to the fully programmable option. So this is the Ghozt V5 28 channel sequencer, and it's hooked up to just the turn signals right now. I have the same kind of thing that I had on this guy powering this as a switchback driver. It bounces between the white LEDs and then it turns those off when the Ghozt sees the turn signal in the car. But now we've got show modes, and these are all things that we've written the code individually. When we say we wrote the code, I love that there's a bunch of dorks, and I'm going to talk about those guys later, but they want to see, like, I don't know, some kind of like Visual Basic or C++ or some kind of stuff. Get over yourself, dude. We're talking about little lines that say this LED is on, or it's off, or it's 50% of the way on, and we do that line by line. I don't know what else to call it. We have unlimited amounts of animations that we can change up to this thing. We have two right here that I have set up. So I've got mode 1 here, mode 2 there, and essentially it's just two wires. Green wire there and a little orange wire here, and that is what we have hooked up. So that can be hooked up on a remote control, push a button, things turn on, and Ghozt is my favorite.
Yeah, but don't you know that you can just use an addressable set of LED strips and Arduino, and you can program it yourself with only 392 lines of custom coding, and then it can be installed instead. That'd be way better. Why don't you use Addressable?
Sorry for that. It's literally what I hear in my head as I read the comments sometimes about people who are 100% not in the know, but letting everybody else know how smart they are because they've found a way to avoid using all those wires and all that soldering. Oh, it's so terrible. You could just use the 3-wire data and power and ground for Addressable and it'll all be so easy. Dude, it's just not as good. It's just not as bright of LEDs. I have some here. I'm gonna show them to you right now. We'll talk more about Addressable after that. Fourth option for switchback sequential is Addressable LEDs. That's what you're seeing right here. I'm just turning on and off these little modes, and we've got the white LEDs. We can also do a lot of other cool stuff. Let me show you. The cool thing about addressable LEDs, and these are in a tube, much like some of the other tubes that you've seen a lot of LED tech in, is they have a bunch of individual little LEDs that are in there, and they can be controlled each LED at a time. These are RGB, so they're actually able to do a whole bunch of cool stuff that normal LEDs couldn't do. And let me explain why people think that this is the way to go versus something like this, where we've got all these LEDs that are in there individually that can't turn colors, but that can be hooked up to a sequencer. There is really cool tech that exists out there. It's the same stuff that you would see used when people are doing like the crazy Christmas lights houses where everything's lighting up and changing with the music and all that. You can buy these LEDs. I'm gonna link this stuff up. This is something that I'm gonna make for another customer. I'm gonna wrap it around a tube and make a big thing for like shows that he goes to, all the EDM stuff. This is the idea here. You've got a bunch of LEDs that are on a roll. You can now control each one of those LEDs based on the programming that the controller is using. Different than the 28 channel Ghozt sequencer, you've got addressable RGB controller called BlueGhozt. That has multiple inputs as well, just like 28 channel sequencer has. So you can do things like a dedicated input only used for left turn signal, and then another one for right turn signal, and then one for brakes, and one for parking light. That's something that you're not gonna get out of the box with something like Arduino, where it's 100% custom, and you're gonna have to do all these different things. It's also a nice function that you can use 12 volt RGB addressable with the BlueGhozt. Now, I will say it makes sense to me when you see something like this. It's got a ton of little wires coming off of it, and this is made to plug directly into the Corsomotion sequencer, versus I've got a whole roll of LEDs, tons and tons of LEDs, and really the only thing I need to plug into a controller is 3 wires. Power, ground, and data. That data wire tells all the LEDs what to do. It's way different than the sequencers saying, start here, give power to that, then that, then that, then that, then that, and it's sending power down these wires to individually light up LEDs. That's what we're looking at when we're seeing something like the Corsomotion or the Ghozt sequencer. This little Amazon thing, my guess is that it's just using a form of addressable LEDs that's only turning on white and amber, and that's why with the heat issues like that, this is a roll right here that's very well known to overheat because the LEDs have a little chip inside that identifies them, and then on the top, left, and right side of that chip, you've got the LED itself that lights up the little heat source. So the biggest enemy of LEDs is heat, and that's why with addressable, you have lots of heat-related failure. We can't have failure sealed inside of a headlight. That's the answer for the dorks that keep bugging me. They keep coming in and acting like they're so smart, like they've got it all figured out and saying, use addressable, use addressable. Like, nah, I'm making this for you. That's why we don't use addressable. We want to use dedicated super bright white, dedicated super bright amber, and use very awesome products to control those white and amber LEDs. Hey, this is like the meat. This is the meat and potatoes of the video, I'm telling you. So that is my answer, my personal preference, my reason why I don't use addressable on the lightning bolts. It's also the reason I don't use them on taillights, because oftentimes the red LEDs that are currently available right now at the beginning of 2020 are just not quite as bright as something like, I'm gonna get nerd on you, a PLCC4, which is just an OEM LED used in the GTR taillights. It's used in a bunch of taillights, super crazy bright, like melt your face bright. The addressables just aren't there yet. They'll get there, but they're not there yet. And so when people ask why I don't use them for things like the GTR Bolt headlights, because they're so smart and it's gonna make things so much easier and better, it's just not. Like, currently what I use is much better. That's why. Now, there's lots of good reasons to use addressable, and that's why I want to talk to you about the guy that sent me some of these things, DIYME Designz. He does amazing stuff. If you look at his Instagram, I'll link it up below. It's got RGB addressable custom headlight and taillight work on there. Definitely something you should think about if you're really into that sort of thing. Personally, with me, it's hard to sell color changing crazy stuff for the GTR headlights as it is, which is why I've broken it down into like stage 2, stage 3, one of them's sequential, one of them's color changing. A lot of times people just already hate custom lighting in general, especially a lot of GTR guys. It's weird. I've been specializing in the GTR headlights for a lot of years. Most of the GTR guys have never heard about me. Most of the time when they do find out about me and they find out what I'm charging for these custom builds, they're mad. They're straight up angry. They're like, my GTR has 1,500 horsepower and I spent $80,000 on the motor. I would never spend that much money on headlights. Like, cool story, you know, like, to each their own. I don't want to sell my stuff to anybody that doesn't actually really want it. Some people love lights. I'm one of them. Some people love color changing animated unicorn rainbow lights. That's also dope. There's a place for that. Who am I? I'm just like the guy that's angry about expensive headlights if I say that you can't like the thing that I'm not personally into. There's so many different options for everybody. I really did want to lay out right in front of you so that you could see, yes, you can use addressable if you want to do switchback sequential. Yes, you can use the $20 Amazon non-adjustable one. You can absolutely adjust the Corsomotion one to your heart's content and make it look exactly the way that you want it. Seal it up inside that light, never touch it again. Or maybe you could even put that thing where you can make little adjustments over time and get in there and manually flip switches and turn dials, or you can do all of that through programming with the fully programmable Ghozt module. It all comes down to you, the budget, the scope of the build, why you're doing what you're doing, and honestly, personal preference. That's the biggest thing. I say you should choose something to specialize in and just dominate, like dive in and do that over and over again until you get so versed and good at that thing that it's easy. Like building these GTR lights, I've done so many of them with the Ghozt modules now, but I am excited that we got to build one set for the first time ever that's fully plug and play because of those Corsomotion ones, and I will never ever use the $20 Amazon special instead of GTR lights for any reason ever. Let me know, what of these things would you use if you're working on your car, whether that's an expensive car or an inexpensive car. I'm really interested to hear what were your favorites out of these options. You got 4 of them. I poked fun at you if you like the addressable, but like I said, there's something for everybody here. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope you got something out of this. Smash that like button for me if you did, and I will see you on more videos all about sequential LED lighting coming up.